Brooke Goldstein. Welcome. You're human rights attorney and director of the Children's Rights Institute. An NGO focuses on human rights abuses against children. You're also director of the award-winning documentary, The Making of a Martyr, about Palestinian child bombers. The Turkish authorities blame a child bomber for the attack that killed these 51 persons and say that the initial evidence suggests it was a Daesh attack, Islamic State attack. How unusual would it be if Daesh has used a child bomber?
Unfortunately, it's not unusual at all. The indoctrination and recruitment of innocent Muslim children, not only as suicide-homicide bombers, but as child soldiers and as human shields, is quite prevalent throughout the Middle East. In fact, in every Muslim-majority country, you have state media that teaches children to revere martyrdom. Just this past March, the Turkish religious ministry issued a cartoon teaching children how to become suicide bombers, glorifying suicide-homicide bombing. So this is neither the first time this is going to happen, nor will it be the last time, unfortunately.
And how long does it date back to when the child bombers has been used?
Well, we have to understand the use of children in armed conflict is as old as armed conflict itself. However, the use of children as suicide-homicide bombers is relatively new. We saw, for example, as far back as the Iran-Iraq war, where you had Iran use children walk in front of tanks in minefields to explode the mines prior to the tanks going in. And of course, the issue dates back to the Second Intifada in the Palestinian-Israeli context, where you have Al-Aqsa Martyr Brigades, Hamas, Fatah, recruit children as young as 12 years old. In Afghanistan, we've had children as young as 6 years old being recruited as suicide-homicide bombers. We've also had instances where infants, newborn infants, are kidnapped out of the maternity wards in hospitals in Afghanistan and Iraq. They're placed on IEDs, improvised explosive devices, on the side of the road for coalition forces to pick them up, and they would both explode.
Let's take, for an example, a 12-year-old child. Does the child know what is going to happen, or how do Daesh persuade the children?
Children are very impressionable, which is what makes this crime against humanity so egregious. In this particular situation, what we're learning, and the facts are rolling in, as we speak, is that there was a potential that the suicide bombing vest was detonated by remote control. We know, for example, that Hamas, the designated Palestinian terrorist group Hamas, has given children backpacks with explosives. They haven't told those children what's inside the backpacks, and then they've attempted to detonate them by remote control. Perhaps this is what happened here. We also know situations where children have been drugged, mentally handicapped, physically handicapped children are used. So from the perspective of human rights, a child who is abused in this fashion is as much a victim of a human rights abuse as are, for example, the innocent civilians killed in his or her wake because of the impressionability of the child.
And is it possible to explain why Daesh uses children instead of grown-ups?
They have absolutely zero respect for human life. The point of terrorism is to create as much fear and terror as possible. And the use of children, including the targeting of children, over a dozen children were killed at this wedding. Innocent women, innocent men were killed. Creates terror. It creates fear. And that is the effect that ISIS wants here. That is the effect of terrorism.
And if we see the terror that has also been going on in Europe, for example, the child bombers we have seen mostly for now in the Middle East, should we fear that, for example, child bombers could come to Europe as well?
In Europe, you should pay very close attention to the radicalization and indoctrination process. We know for a fact that mosques are indoctrinating both adults and children. We have the widespread media, Islamist media, which is being propagated through satellite programs, through the internet, targeting children specifically to indoctrinate them to revere Shahada, which is martyrdom in Arabic. We need to get control over this. The EU is also funding the indoctrination of children, particularly in the Palestinian context, through grants to the Palestinian Authority. And Palestinian Authority runs a television program every single day with cartoons and television programs directly aimed at children to indoctrinate them to become suicide bombers. So we are complicit in this by funding it and also by turning a blind eye to the indoctrination in mosques and on the media and in madrasas as well.
Brooke Goldstein, thank you very much.